but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. To use the COVID-19 crisis as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons the cybersecurity community can draw and improve our preparedness for a potential cyber pandemic.
All right, it's 2019, 2020, and what is happening? Well, you guys know what's happening. A full-on global pandemic all around the world. Coronavirus affecting everyone. Human-to-human contact is not something that you want. Stay 6 feet apart. Wear your mask. Restaurants shut down. Job loss. You name it. Money doesn't typically grow on trees, but on this one it does. And this right here is something that you don't want to pass around. Could obviously spread the virus. So is physical cash actually something that's great during a physical pandemic? Keyword physical. I'm going to say no. Digital is definitely strong and I think it's the future, but however, that's a physical pandemic. Is it possible that there could be something on the horizon such as a digital pandemic, cyber attack, viral, going around affecting software and systems that could be the second wave of what's to come? It's just a possibility, it's just a thought, and I want to talk about it. Come with me. All right, that first video was Klaus Schwab, who is the CEO and founder of the World Economic Forum. Feel free to go search some videos on him. I know a lot of you guys already follow him. Some of you guys like him, some of you don't. Mostly I see a lot of negative with some of the stuff that he says and whatever he's attached to. So anyways, besides that, I want to give a shout out to Ben Rickard. If you guys don't know who Ben Rickard is, I'm assuming this is his account. It could not be, you never know. But he's from the movie The Big Short. Just kind of throw a little clip if you guys remember The Big Short. Love the movie. And then also this gentleman who actually tweeted the video and he retweeted. So I want to give them two a shout out here. All right, so we're going to talk about what the pandemic has done so far. These are just my thoughts, my ideas, what I see. By no means am I telling you exactly what's happening. This is just my perspective, and it'll probably get you thinking a little bit on, is this possibly accurate, what's going on. So the pandemic, we know, has done a couple things, and the most fascinating thing I'm going to start off with that you guys might have looked at or maybe have not is the fact that when it all happened in 2020, when it really got like real. And I was out at a restaurant and I'm looking around and I'm watching everyone scan a QR code. And instantly I'm like, this is teaching everyone how to scan a QR code right now. The entire world right now is being taught how to scan a QR code. And as a crypto person, I put two and two together and I can see why that this could be obviously a good thing and why it could be done by design and why it's like, hey, this is, it's contactless. We don't want to get the virus, these menus and stuff. We don't need to be touching the menus and stuff. Scan this QR code, scan the QR code. I'm like, oh wow, you guys are getting taught how to use crypto wallets and stuff, right? And you're getting taught how to actually, you're gonna make payments and stuff and transfer, moving money around quickly. Welcome to crypto. You don't even realize you're being taught that. So anyways, I found that fascinating and I liked that very much, and it just really had my brain going. So as time went on, we knew that obviously, the restaurants were getting hurt. There was job loss. There was a lot of problems and people had to start, working from home and working remotely. So it really put people indoors, and in turn, that actually caused real estate to actually boom, which you wouldn't think, pandemic is going to cause a little bit of a problem. Well, it did for a moment, but then there's all these jobs and, that were allowed to work remotely, and people wanted people to stay home because of the pandemic. So it put people at home. And it caused people to go and buy maybe even more real estate, right? Like, oh my gosh, this is bad. I want to either relocate, I want to buy real estate, be indoors because of this, right? It also caused people to obviously buy boats and things like that. It was a good way to get out from being obviously indoors. But if you wanted to go out, you can go out to a safe place, a safer place. Being out in the middle of the water is probably one of the safest places from anything, from even Wi-Fi, from viruses or anything out there. So boats started to get a lot of attention, and that pushed those prices up. So what what this thing has done, you know, is really just pushed up a lot of values, because we know that the gas is up right now. We know that the, you know, the housing is up right now. We know boats is up right now. Insurance went up, building materials, people remodeling their homes, new construction, it just materials of building, and even labor, like contractors doing physical labor for those like remodels and things like that. They're booming and they're getting so much business and they're getting top dollar for everything. So if you really look at this, it really caused a market in the markets, even though we crashed, you know, on, you know, stocks and on crypto on that March 2020, it caused them to boom. It caused them to go up and get to a high point, to create a top. And so the more I think about this, I'm like, was that just a test run? And was it designed specifically to push the markets up to get a top, to create a nice top for a nice exit for something that's worse to come, to for somebody obviously to grab at a low level? Is that on the horizon? Well, let's just keep that in mind as we keep on looking at this. So what do I know that has happened when all these things have got to a high point? Are people buying? Yeah, people are buying. They're sucking up the inventory. I'm breaking records in my market. They don't care about the prices so much. They're going all over asking price. Yeah, there's people coming out of town and stuff coming over here and doing that. But ultimately, I'm looking at it, I'm like, you're still buying a high point. So some people are like, well, the interest rates are low. Yeah, the interest rates are low, but you're still buying at a high point, and you still got a fat mortgage, even with a low interest rate, which means that I know you got to be able to, you know, you have a 30-year mortgage. So hopefully you can carry that mortgage for, you know, for a good amount of time, and there's no hiccups that'll cause you to have problems carrying that mortgage, right? So we know that the rent is up too. So this is what I know. I know that people are paying top dollar for stuff. I know that they got fat mortgages. I know that they're attached to boats and stuff with, you know, and I'm pretty sure that they weren't buying these all cash. They were using loans or whatever to obviously do this. Now I looked at my real estate market, and 80% of them were finance deals. So all the closings that are happening, people are like, oh, there's people coming out of town with cash and buying. That's why. I'm like, no, it's not. I went and ran all the reports, raw data inside, and it was 80. It's no different. 80% were financing, 20% were cash, or it was like 80, 15, and like 5 was, you know, some random creative financing or something else, right? Some, you know, owner financing type deals. But majority are doing traditional, you know, loans, and, you know, the rates are low, so I get it. But it's still a mortgage, and it's still a fat mortgage, and you're still buying at a high price. So if that was to shift, which as we know, the feds are looking to raise rates 3 times in 2022, whatever that does instantly lowers buying power across the globe. Well, we'll just say across the US, since it's happening to us in America. So North America, obviously, or the United States gets hit. If they raise this, right, it'll get hit. Everyone is approved for less that's doing a finance deal, right? The other thing I think about with this is I think about, especially with real estate, we'll stay attached to this for a little bit, is that the Gen Z, like the future generation, the younger generation right now, are they buying right now? And the answer is no. And the mentality from what I've, you know, spoke with some, you know, and I talked to people, you know, parents and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, they don't want to have a house. And and right now also, they're not really excited about these entry-level jobs, even if that's why we have a labor problem, is because a lot of the entry-level jobs, you know, a lot of this new generation, I'm not throwing a jab at them, I'm just calling it like it is. I know I have family and friends and stuff that are at this level. They don't want to work at some of these entry-level jobs. They're so used to tech and stuff being in front of them and stuff, and that physical and that people-to-people contact, and especially with the whole pandemic thing, they don't want to go and work at, no offense, Costco. They don't want the job, which is causing a problem, which is why obviously we can get replaced easily by robots and by kiosk and stuff to actually do those jobs. But here's the problem then we don't have an income happening. There's no one, they're not generating income. They're not, and maybe they are maybe, you know, YouTube, you know, which is actually from what? It's mostly from ads, but who's doing the ads? Well, the companies are doing the ads. So if the company's not, you can see it's a cycle. So if the company is running an ad, we'll just use Domino's Pizza, for example. This is true. What is happening? They're having trouble. No one wants to deliver pizzas, right? So if the company's running ads to drive business to themselves, and somebody's on YouTube and that's what they do for a living, and they're getting money because people are putting ads, you know, on their channel and stuff like that. If those ads are driving business, or they can't handle the business. So then what happens is like, well, we can't even handle the business. So why are we doing ads? You can see how quickly then less ads maybe. We can't even handle, like, we don't need any more business. We need workers. well, it becomes a cycle where it's all attached like that, where if the business can't run because they don't have, I know businesses in town here that actually said, I can't find any workers. They're shutting down because they don't have workers. So that business doesn't advertise anymore. So it becomes a problem where it's like, we all can't be realtors. I'm using this as an example because it's real. We all can't be YouTubers. There's actually positions that we need workers. We actually need real stuff to get done. And we need somebody that is laying tile. We need somebody that's doing drywall. We need some of these actual physical labor. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But what has happened with the way the world is, and with obviously when the pandemic puts people at home to work from home, and everything's tech, and you see ways to make money online, what ends up happening? Unfortunately, it makes people become lazier. Like, content creating is cool, I'm doing it right now, but am I really solving a world problem? No, I'm giving you information. And I mean, I'm not chasing likes or anything like that, but that's typically what this is. I want to, create a channel, get likes, get audience, and then people can run ads on you. You can make money off of it, right? Or you can sell your membership or your subscription-based program. But then it's like, if we're all doing that, we're all doing the same thing, there's a lot of industries that are going to get hit, which actually throws an imbalance in the world, which causes problems. So I look at it right now where, there's generations, that younger generation, they're not going to be fueling the real estate market right now, is what I'm saying. They're not going to be buying houses. They're not trying to buy houses. They're not going to buy houses at these prices. I'm telling you right now that there is a faucet that can get easily turned off. And if you think the younger generations are running to go buy houses, they're not. They're not, and I don't even know if their approval, even if low rates, if they are approved at these prices, which tells me we need to have a correction. We need to have probably a big one and bring things back down to reality. It's a huge problem right now for real estate, right? And if there's a problem for real estate, and these prices are kind of, I don't think they sustain, and you don't have any younger generation coming up to keep it propped up, to keep it going, right? If you don't have that, you're asking yourself for a problem, especially if the rates go up. But if that all happens, and I'm not even into the digital pandemic yet to mess with this. I'm just talking outside. I'm just talking the interest rates messing with stuff, and I don't see this sustaining where people are going to keep buying, right? Because you just need, obviously, the income, the jobs and stuff all need to support it. Income needs to keep going up to keep pushing this thing up, but I don't see it going up. I see that there are jobs available, no one wants them, and those jobs aren't going to pay. Even if you do take them, they're not enough to support this market. And not everyone, something needs to reset, is what I'm getting at. It's just not going to sustain. It's just not going to keep piling up like on this and keep propping this up as the government's doing. So when you think about that, you're like, all right, well, if the real estate market slows down, what happens? I talked about this on Twitter. I'm like, well, you're going to have a domino effect. That's how things can get nasty. And I'm not even into, like I said, into the digital pandemic thing, messing with thing, if that even happened. It doesn't even need to happen, really, based on what I'm coming up with. So the realtor then, there's all these people who want to become realtors in my town, and there's over 7,000 realtors now, all trying to sell houses. The faucet gets turned off on that, right? And a lot of them are buying leads from Zillow, and that's where they're coming from. So Zillow's faucet gets turned off too. Zillow's not kicking out leads. Shoot, I don't even want to, I keep saying I don't want to get into the cyber pandemic because I can just see how that can mess with Zillow's process. And next thing you know, no one's getting leads because the whole system's down. All the systems are infected and no one can see the data. You know what I mean? It's just a domino effect so easily. And so the realtors are doing less transactions. So they're making less money. And they're attached to the boats, the expensive cars, everything. They're paying top dollar for everything. And that's what the market is, their lifestyle, right? But their income gets sliced because the market slows down. You know who else is getting hit in this? Well, you guys probably know. The survey guys that do the survey companies are getting hit, right? So they're making less because they're doing less surveys. You know how else is getting hit? The mortgage companies. Mortgage companies are doing less loans. They're getting hit. So they're not making as much money. Who else is? The insurance policies. The insurance companies aren't getting as much business because they're not doing insurance policies. Title companies ain't doing as much title policies. So they're getting hit. The inspections. The inspectors are getting less money because they're not doing as many inspections. The appraisals. The appraisers are getting hit because they're not doing as many appraisals. Do you see how that one industry, I just took out a bunch of jobs real quickly, and there's probably a couple more that all attach to that. Home remodeling is a whole nother thing that people do, right? Building pools and stuff, that's a whole business too. You can quickly knock out a bunch of jobs just off of a couple tweaks. That is a domino effect. It lowers everyone's income, right? And if they're attached to, I don't care if the rates are low, that they got great rate on their house, I don't care. They still have a fat mortgage. They still might have a high rent that they're paying for because majority of people don't live within their means. Majority, we all know that. There's always the exception. The majority of people don't have financial intelligence. They're not sitting liquid. The majority of people don't have great assets. They might be tapping into, their home equity lines. And I think they shut a lot of those down, but they're using their home equity lines to float. But it's not being spent wisely. It's buy things, remodel, remodel, remodel. None of this stuff generates income. None of this stuff is actually going to help. So some people are like, oh, but I updated my house and it's going to make my house worth more. You're going to quickly realize that that's not how things work. You know, when the prices start dropping, if you went and put in marble floors and you love the marble floors and you spend all this money on them, you will never get it back when you go to resell, especially in certain neighborhoods when it's like the functional obsolescence where you actually went too high in that neighborhood and no, this doesn't get this product, the market's not going to support it. Yes, it's nice, people like it, it'll help sell, but it's not going to get you any more for the house. So all that money you put in, you're not going to get it out of it. I see it all the time. It's no different. It's just depreciation. It's no different than you put in a pool or buying a house with a pool already. You want to buy a house and put in a pool, it's going to cost you a lot more than buying the house with the pool already wrapped in due to depreciation. Anyways, not going to go down that route anymore, but just think about what I have said. Think about the scenario that's at stake right now. That's the position that we're in. All the prices are up on everything. Inflation's up and all that stuff, which we're going to be looking at inflation in the dollar here in a second. But all that stuff's up and people are attached to it. And does it sustain? Does it sustain? You want to know how it sustains? You better keep making sure that money's flowing into their pockets. And if it doesn't, you're going to cause a problem. The money needs to keep going. I know the government's keeping things propped up. I've gave business loans and stuff like that. If that little, once again, tech is making people lazier. Please don't let it happen to you so you can stay of value. I've said it multiple times. I'm like, we're using all this tech and it's like we're using so much tech that it's like going to replace us where you're not needed anymore because you're doing less thinking. You're not using your memory. You're not using your abilities anymore. You're using technology to bail you out, to look up things, to not think, to the human to not think. And that's a problem. You're not using your abilities. So artificial food, tech, doing all the work for you, really just making you lazy in the pandemic, really taking the wind out of people's sails and making people even more lazier to not probably generate income or hustle and relying on the government and attached to high things. You're asking for a problem. Let's go over to a digital pandemic now. All right, so a digital pandemic, what could be happening if that does happen? Well, we know right now a great reset would be to do what? Send markets up, create a top, allow those that are running the show or allow those that are connected to, just understanding things and the moves of the market, the agenda, the narrative. To me, this is all done by design. Allow them to get out. And I look at the dollar right now. You guys might be looking at the dollar. I know a lot of people, 99% of people felt the dollar was going to go down and crash and it was going to continue to go down. I'm not saying it doesn't later, but there's a window that I didn't think it did. And I was bullish on it for a while. For several months now, I've been very, very bullish on the dollar before the dollar started to rise. I'm like, here we go. I was looking for this. And everyone's like, how is the dollar going up? They're printing all this money. And I have a theory behind that. I want you just to look at what the dollar's doing. The dollar has already ran up strong. And is that a sign of what is happening? Why is that happening? I mean, one can say, well, are people exiting and going into the dollar because something might be lurking and they want to be more stable? Remember, the dollar has the best use case right now. It's still accepted at every business. So I understand, the physical cash right here. A lot of people don't like that. I still like it. There's a reason for it, and it's what I'm about to tell you. They both have their place right now, and they're very powerful still as I'm making this video. So as of right now, if a scenario goes down, especially a cyber attack, this right here becomes very, very, very powerful. So I want you to think about this happening. So if a cyber attack did happen, and I'm talking like a viral, that's why we call it a digital pandemic, like a virus going through all the systems. And I'm talking hitting like main servers, like Amazon Web Services, knocking down the web server. Like people are using Amazon Web Server. They're using a lot of these servers and stuff to run. And there's a lot of payment systems. Like think about grocery stores. Like I have Publix where I'm at. Publix uses a credit card service. Imagine the credit card service getting corrupted. I'm talking about viruses corrupting files where it's not an easy fix, where it doesn't just come back on because, oh, the internet went out, we turned it back on. I'm not talking an internet switch on and off. I think we can have the internet back. The problem is are the websites and all the servicing going to be functioning properly? Or is there a corruption of files and it's down for months? 1 month, 2 months to 3 months is enough to cause a massive meltdown in markets, to affect everything. Think about that. 3 months. You go into a store and credit card machines are still down for even a month, for even a week or two, and you can't buy products unless you have physical cash. I don't know if you guys know, back in the day, there was a credit card clink, 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 clink. You would think like, oh, we can just, swipe our credit cards the old fashioned way, right? And they got to process them later. Not every credit card now has the raised numbers to do the clink clink to put it down. So you're taking pictures of it. Complete mess. That's just hitting, some of the services for transacting. Just think about transacting food. Robert Kiyosaki's talked about this for about a year or two, and I think even Jim Rickards, right? And when they talked about it, they were talking about like, oh, people aren't gonna be able to eat and stuff. I'm like, what is he talking about? He's like, people aren't gonna be able to get money out of ATMs. I'm like, holy crap, the ATM would be done. So people are gonna go run to go get the physical money, and then they can't get it because they weren't prepared in advance for something like this happening, which is just a possibility, guys. I'm not trying to tell you this is what's going to happen, but I'm a future thinker, and I will look at every angle, and I will be open to anything that anyone has to say, and I'm not going to shut anything down because it's always possible. So I'll look at the pros and I'll look at the cons, and I don't want to get caught off guard for a scenario like this, which could be a great opportunity too. Obviously it's bad, but you know what? When the masses are going in one direction, sometimes I'm like, it's unfortunate that everyone's supposed to win, and it's all done by design. It's designed because I think there's something good that eventually comes out of it. But to reset a market, global reset, just think a reset. All right, well, let's send everything up to a high point, and then let's pull the rug, and then bam. How do you pull the rug? I'll give you an example right now, how to really pull a rug. And you pull a rug like that, and you're stopping transactions from taking place. Everyone's job is instantly affected because all the companies are no longer receiving revenue. Transactions are not happening on Amazon. They're all down. Goods are not being moved. Food's having trouble being moved because we're having a payment processing problem. Wink, wink. You see where I'm going with this as I end this video here. We're having transaction problems globally. What could be a reason for us to fix this massive problem that's happening? Now, once again, this is a possibility. It's a perfect scenario for something that you all watching this, 'cause I know a lot of you guys are in crypto, would like. But right now, it's not time for utility run. It's not time for it. That's what I feel. It's not there yet. We got 15, 16,000 damn shit coins out there. There needs to be regulatory clarity. We need to really figure out this and wipe this thing and figure out, hey, this is what we're going to be doing moving in the future. But before we do that, we're going to have to wipe things. We're going to have to cause a rug pull, a massive meltdown. And this could be a scenario how things obviously have a massive meltdown. So we will see what comes on the future. But before I end this video, all right, before I end this video, you can see how blockchain technology comes in to actually fix this and say, look, we wrecked our system. The system's wrecked. It wasn't that good. We had a cyber attack. They ruined it. We can't let this happen again. This is the worst thing that happened in the world, in the United States. This is terrible. Look at what's going on. We're having trouble. People can't eat. People can't pay. People aren't making money. You see how and you're attached to all these high price items that you can't afford for 1 month, 2 month, 3. You can see how it sets everyone back. You can see the complete meltdown that happens from this. That's what a digital cyber attack pandemic can do. It can do it worse than you would ever imagine. That your income and the transactions and everything that we're relying on right now, technology, gets corrupted and shut off. And yes, we then say, well, what do we need? And then, blockchain technology, more tamper-proof, decentralized. It can really, but it's, once again, this is done by design, in my opinion, to paint the picture, to move over to that, to do the global reset. That's just my theory. It's just the way I see it. Now, if you guys have not seen the future of technology scenarios for future technologies, I'm gonna pull it up on the screen right now. Please don't, I'm going off of memory here as I make this video. This is all on my mind, just going off of memory. And this was made by the Rockefeller Foundation, a group of individuals there. It was like a project they were doing back in 2000. It was May 2010, okay? And if you look at this diagram that I have pulled up, the first top left corner is called lockstep. And if you go to this article, I'm going to scroll down to it. It goes over a pandemic. Now, please understand, this is future scenarios. These are just ideas, thoughts of them from 2010 to 2030 saying, what is the next 20 years going to bring? What could happen, right? To bring in future technology, hashtag blockchain, right? Well, they have up here, and you can see this diagram with these arrows here where there's like this like high, like this low and weak and strong areas of this. And I looked at the top first left corner and I'm like, wow, man, lockstep is about bringing in like, a tightening of the government control and stuff like that. Let's cause a pandemic. They talk about the pandemic in this lockstep, and as I'm showing you, right? But then after that, it comes down, there's this hack attack, and they're talking about obviously, hacking, and, could be where a cyber attack, would be involved with this. And I'm like, is that the next step? And as you can see, it's in this lower, weaker corner. I'm like, well, that would be like a weak point of us. Lockstep and stuff sucks. But then this down here hack attack is actually probably the worst. And then as you move over to the right, as we circle around and circle back up, this was what the smart, I'm going off of memory here, sorry if I can't remember it. It was, I know it's clever together there at the top, and then whatever this was, smart scramble, right? Scramble smart or something, smart scramble, right? This would be, we're all scrambling to fix it and try to tie it in together, and obviously we're trying to work and figure this thing out to piece this together. That's what smart scramble would be happening, and we're all trying to do it. And then obviously after we solve it, we move up to, you know, the higher, you can see this is the higher, stronger point up here, right? This is clever together. We're now all working together and it's all functioning, and bam, there you go. There's your global reset. It happens just like this in this diagram. Whether it's, I don't expect this, you know, futures of technology to be completely true, the Rockefeller Foundation, but you know, as far as details go, but it could be what's on the horizon, and it is a good thought to have and a possibility. And bam, blockchain technology is born, which it already has been born, but born into utility. Now we're actually going to be using it. Now you're really seeing the burst in the big markets shoot ups of the assets that are actually the real assets that are going to stay around in crypto, and all the regulatory clarity and stuff wiped out a lot of the crap that's not going to be here. Do you see where I'm kind of going with this? How this could actually happen? Once again, it's just an idea. You know, during a physical pandemic, you know, digital stuff is awesome, which was the first thing. But then during a obviously a digital pandemic, the physical stuff like the physical dollar becomes very powerful, and it helps during those times. So you can see how they both have value. You can't knock one for the other. I think they can coexist. And I think I wouldn't look at that dollar as like, oh, it's you know, the dollar's going to go down. They're printing so much of it. You know, look at the bigger picture, because if we're creating a new market, we're creating, think about this, we're creating a new crypto class. You're creating more money. More money's being created. And if there's more money being created, I think it's okay to have more fiat. It's okay to print more money, because we're creating more money. There's obviously more people too, but we're creating more money in the world. So if, you know, John Smith that's watching this ends up making a ton of money on Bitcoin, and I'm just using as an example, I'm not saying Bitcoin. Obviously, I'm not really a big fan of Bitcoin. I'm more of, you know, some of the alts like XRP and stuff. But if he does very good in that, and a lot of people do very good in that, and you want to move over to fiat, well, wouldn't there be you need more fiat, because you just created a whole new like stock market in a way with crypto, and a bunch of people just became very wealthy because you created more value and more money in the world. That if this person wants to offset and go into stable, well, we need a decent supply to balance this out. So, and while we created a crypto market, we created more fiat, more stable. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay for that to happen. And don't think just because they created more dollars that it kills the dollar, the DXY right now, because of what I'm just explaining, how we're creating more money in the world, and we need more stable to offset, to balance out the more money that we created with the crypto class, right? So when you actually look at this now, and you look at the dollar chart and go to the DXY right now, and you see that it's going up, you're like, is it going up for what reason? Is it because we're about to maybe experience something like a digital pandemic, and that dollar is the strong place to be? Is that where we want to be? Do you think that the S&P 500, especially a lot of these technologies that would end up getting hurt? Think about this. I mean, airlines and stuff, I already showed you guys with this, but all these technology companies, all these stock companies, all get hit hard on the stock market. They all drop. Why? Well, we just had a cyber pandemic that just messed up all the system. Of course. Why is the DXY going up? Well, maybe people are already offsetting and they're already getting out, because I think Ben Rickard, I think even said it. He's like, the whales are already doing it. I'm like, well, the DXY makes sense why people are going to DXY, because they're probably already aware, hey, we got probably a possible cyber attack, digital, you know, pandemic on the horizon here. It's time to get into some stable fiat. The best utility case right now in pretty much the whole world is that dollar there. So anyways, hopefully you guys liked the video and you guys enjoyed it, and please understand this is just my opinion, my thoughts. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it does, I'm prepared for it. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.